And joining us now is former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker, and Chair of Urban Warfare Studies at the Madison Policy Forum, retired Army Major John Spencer. Great to have both of you here. Thank you. Ambassador Volker, we are now 300 days into this war. President Zelenskyy will soon be walking the halls of the White House. Your thoughts on just the significance of this moment?
Well, I think this is terrific. First off, if you remember back at the beginning of the phase of the conflict in February, people did not expect Ukraine to survive or to prevail. So for Zelenskyy to be here, to be visiting President Biden at the White House, and to actually be pushing Russian forces out of his country, this is a terrific thing. Second, it is important as a signal to the Congress, to the American people, that Zelenskyy knows that Ukraine is standing because of the help that the United States, the American people have given. He's grateful for that, but he also needs that to continue for Ukraine to prevail here.
Major Spencer, what will you be watching for and listening for in the coming hours from both leaders?
So I'm looking for what President Zelenskyy will actually say. I don't know if you saw him in Bakhmut, in single-digit miles of our leadership to say and do bold things, to say that we will not allow Putin to be the architect of the 21st century and that we will help Ukraine win.
And so I'll note, in Russia today, President Putin made a speech calling for Russia's improved readiness of nuclear units. Ambassador, what message is being sent to Russia through this visit, and how do you expect Russia to react? Any concern about some kind of retaliation?
Well, first off, I think it's an important message to Putin that Zelenskyy is able to travel, that he's welcome, that there is full U.S. support and backing for him and for Ukraine. They will say the opposite. The Russians will say they're going to win, they have all the resources, they're in for the long haul. But the reality is they're going to see with their own eyes that this is full U.S. and Western support for Ukraine, and there's no way they can prevail in the face of that. So that's the one thing. Now, you mentioned the nuclear weapon thing there. That is something we all need to keep an eye on. No one wants to see any nuclear use. I think the United States and several other countries have been very effective in warning Russia that a nuclear use would be a game changer and it would result in devastating consequences for the Russian military. So that's something I think they know, and I think that we have to keep that warning on the table to make sure that the nuclear weapons are in fact never used.
At the top, Phil laid out for us some of what's included in the latest round of funding, this $2 billion in additional security assistance that will be provided to Ukraine. And that includes the coveted Patriot missile systems, as well as precision bomb kits, which would help convert the less sophisticated munitions into smart bombs.
Of Ukraine. And the joint JDAM's missiles will help. But we really need to stop providing Ukraine just enough so that it doesn't lose, and take this funding, and the physical amounts are huge, but it really matters on what we are given. And we need to start giving Ukraine the things it's asking for to win, to reclaim its sovereign territory. Things like tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles like I commanded in combat, planes, everything it needs to retake land that is occupied by Russia, Ukrainian land.
We know the Biden administration has been cautious in what it's provided to Ukraine so as to not escalate the conflict further. I do wonder, Major Spencer, this is Zelenskyy's first trip to anywhere outside of Ukraine since Russia invaded. How vulnerable is Ukraine right now without Zelenskyy there? And how vulnerable is Zelenskyy given he's on the move?
Yeah, there's of course risk, but that's one of the things, again, why I'm in awe at President Zelensky's global leadership is he's willing to accept any risk to himself, visiting the front line, coming to America. I mean, of course, Russia would love to take out that leader, that Winston Churchill level leader. But Ukraine's fight is much more than Zelenskyy, and it will end and to win. Putin can't be allowed to win or the entire world changes.
So far since the invasion, the U.S. has given nearly $20 billion in aid to Ukraine, and the current spending bill on the table provides $45 billion more. Zelenskyy will be addressing a joint meeting of Congress tonight. Republicans who are about to take the majority in the House have signaled there's not going to be an open checkbook necessarily. Ambassador Volker, are we closer to any semblance of an end to this war, do you think?
Well, first off, let's dive in on the money for a second, because The administration's request was $38 billion to Congress for additional support for Ukraine. And it was Congress on a bipartisan basis, Republicans and Democrats, who increased that to $45 billion for Ukraine because they saw the rate at which we are using those resources already. And I think it's appropriate that there not be a blank check for Ukraine. And in fact, there is not. There's a lot of accountability and a lot of transparency. So I think that's the right role for Congress, is to provide oversight. Now, as far as where we go, I think that we're in a phase right now that'll last a few more months of Ukraine making incremental gains on the ground while it takes out Russian logistics and their ability to supply Russian forces in the field. That needs to be coupled with some additional equipment, and our guest here mentioned that tanks, fighting vehicles, and I would also add longer range artillery shells, the full range of ATACMS artillery shells to knock out those Russian supply chains. That will enable Ukraine to advance further on the ground and reclaim more of its territory. And I think by the spring, you're going to see some very significant gains by Ukraine. While this happens, Russia's going to dark and take away heat and water supplies. Ukrainians are incredibly resilient. They're going to suffer through this, and they're going to continue to persist and to push the Russians back militarily. Sometime next year, I think that Russia is going to realize it cannot achieve its goals in Ukraine, and that will cause some kind of reckoning inside Russia.
Final thought to you, Major Spencer, on what that endpoint may look like, how close we are.
Yeah, I mean, we can speed this up with our aid. This could go on for a long time if we continue to incrementally provide Ukraine arms. Putin will never change his mind, but Ukraine can take away his military capability in Ukraine by causing the Russian military to culminate in Ukraine, and that has to be the known, stated, applauded goal.
Well, I appreciate both of you so much for your insights and expertise on all of it. Thank you very much for taking the time, Ambassador Kurt Volker and Major John Spencer. Again, this big visit about to happen at 2 o'clock our time. At the top of the hour, we will be guiding you throughout the visit, as they're going to make a bilateral meeting, followed by a press conference, followed by the joint address to Congress. Now, the other major arrival in Washington today, the full January 6th committee report. The historic